Trump rose because they failed. It's as simple as that. If the people in charge had done a halfway decent job with the country they inherited, if they cared about anything other than themselves, even for just a moment, Donald Trump would still be hosting Celebrity Apprentice. But they didn't. Instead, they were incompetent and narcissistic and cruel and relentlessly dishonest. They wrecked what they didn't build. They lied about it. They hurt anyone who told the truth about what they were doing. That's true. We watched. America is still a great country, the best in the world, but our ruling class is disgusting. A vote for Trump is a vote against them. That's what's going on in this country.
The bottom line on nuclear weapons is that when the president gives the order, it must be followed. There's about 4 minutes between the order being given and the people responsible for launching nuclear weapons to do so. As president, I will make it clear that the United States will treat cyber attacks just like any other attack. We will be ready with serious political, economic, and military responses.
They're voting for peace on planet Earth if they vote for Trump. But if they vote for Hillary, it's war.
We came, we saw, we died.
With her, you'll end up in World War III.
I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran.
Right now, Senator, for us to control all of the airspace in Syria would require us to go to war against Syria and Russia.
The U.S. military has just raised the threat level to DEFCON 2. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton is still threatening Russia with military action following unconfirmed reports of further hacking. It's like she's not even concerned about the repercussions.
Of course not, because she's...
There's a really loud noise.
All right, looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. We'll try to get Leanne back on in a few minutes.
When the president gives the order, it must be followed.
The most banned man in America, Alex Jones.
I want you all to know something. Alex Jones was right.
Alex is right about far more than he's wrong.
Alex has been right on for over a decade.
I don't care how you slice it, dice it, flip it up, or rub it down. Alex Jones was right.
Think about how frustrated we are if you've been awake for a year or two. Imagine being like an Alex Jones or those guys who've been awake for like decades.
Alex Jones called this years ago. Years ago.
Alex Jones never bought the Russia hoax, not for a second.
You are one of the great thinkers of this.
You are a martyr to the First Amendment. The government fears Alex Jones.
That's why the globalists hate me, is because I'm exposing their corporate worldwide tyranny. It's Monday, January 15th, 2024. I'm your host, Alex Jones. We are 294 days, 12 hours, 53 minutes, 41 seconds out for the most important election in world history. Okay, there's a lot of huge news. The quickening is just intensifying every day. You don't need me to tell you that. But here's the big new talking point. The very same military-industrial complex that tried to steal the election from Trump in 2016 and that did steal it in 2020 and that used intelligence agencies not just against Trump but against his supporters, the American people, illegally, is publicly in every news channel, every newspaper. They opened up yesterday with hundreds of reports. Now it's thousands a day, saying Donald Trump is a clear and present danger. Donald Trump must be removed. Donald Trump must not be elected. But if he is, they're going to stage a military coup against him. Everything they've accused Trump of. Now, they know a lot of the public doesn't understand the Constitution or what a coup is. A coup is when the military is not under the elected president's command or prime minister and moves against that government. It's against an elected government. But they spin it and say, he's going to use the military against us. So Senator Blumenthal and a bunch of Democrats are introducing a bill to remove the power to call out the National Guard for Black Lives Matter riots. They specifically mentioned that. So translate that. They're going to have the summer of love, the summer of burning everything down and murdering people in mass and defunding the police times 10, claim Trump's Hitler, and then basically try to force him from office and have the military and the National Guard not be able to be invoked with the Insurrection Act they've been trying to already use against Trump but have no evidence. Of course, the Insurrection Act was first set up a long time ago for domestic insurrection when not people are trying to declare a Declaration of Independence, but when they are literally trying to overthrow the U.S. government itself to put in some type of communist regime or many other permutations of that. But the last time it was invoked was in 1992 with George Herbert Walker Bush during the L.A. riots that killed masses of people and burned down large parts of one of the United States' most populous cities. So it's insane. So here are the headlines. It's our headlines and mainstream news headlines. Coup, Democrats in deep state preparing to remove Trump's control of military if elected, and then use giant racially motivated mobs or race war to drive him from power. That's the real fact. Fears grow that Trump will use the military in a dictatorial way if he returns to the White House. NBC News. You read the article, it should be headlined, Democrat senators announce plan to remove military control from the president if Trump reelected. That's a coup when another group in the government that don't have the military war powers transfer to themselves. That's how coups usually work is. In some third world country, you'll hear about their Congress or their parliament, and a group get together, get the military to go under their command, because they buy off the top generals, and then usually they install a general as the new leader. Maybe Lloyd Austin can rule from his colostomy bag bed there at the military base. That's the word. Austin's been completely eaten up with flesh-eating bacteria. Might not make it. Secretary of Defense. Fears grow that Trump will use the military in dictatorial ways if he returns to the White House. Coup. Democrats in deep state preparing to remove President Trump from military control and then trigger a race war to drive him from office. Legal experts gearing up for feared military takeover by Donald Trump. So they're already spinning that when he becomes commander-in-chief, he's a dictator. Oh yeah, an elected dictator. There you go. Former Trump officials raise red flags over his military plans if he's reelected. Former Secretary of Defense, senators, and the very same list of Soros operatives that worked inside the government to block Trump's agenda in his 4 years in office. In 1992, President George Herbert Walker Bush invoked the Insurrection Act to send active duty troops to California to quell widespread riots after 4 police officers charged with beating Rodney King were acquitted. The law was signed by Thomas Jefferson in 1807, gives the president the authority to order troops into the interior of the U.S. to put down rebellion. However, the use of the law is rare. In 2020, Tom Cotton suggested using the Insurrection Act to restore order in cities where protests rising from the killing of George Floyd turned violent. Yeah, mostly peaceful. Thomas Jefferson is the big Democrat. But why did he get that passed? Because the British are experts, and we're experts in fomenting rebellions and funding Native American groups to attack the fledgling United States. Nothing against Native Americans, but they were always teaming up with the French or the British or the Americans or the colonies. Constant shifting. The tribe would come and say, if you don't aid us fighting this tribe, we're going to burn you out. If you do, we'll give you all this land. So the reason the Native Americans were super hard fighting and, tough people could be defeated over the next 150 years was because they were always fighting each other more than the paleface. So anytime you see that, it says the Declaration of Independence, the king won't protect us from savages. Well, that's what the British called Americans living on farms. The term savage, it's not even an insult back then. It simply means people not in the system. Savage. Look up the definition. I mean, it's like we don't think of Tarzan as a bad guy, but he's a savage. Now they want to get rid of the Declaration of Independence because it has the hurtful word savage in it. Well, we all like Conan the Barbarian. He's a fictitious savage. He's a fictional character. We watch the NFL. black or white or brown, they're savage. And we watch boxers. Our favorite boxers are savage, whether they be black, white, or brown. Oh, but don't worry, we've got new articles dealing with that. The Democratic Party and universities and others are calling for restricting breastfeeding as racist. Everything's evil, ladies and gentlemen, except evil in the system. But I digress, going into a constitutional history lesson. When I read these articles, which I'm going to do after the break, they are absolutely insane. Over the top crazy. But it's the very same group that did engage in a soft coup and set up stay-behind networks or leave-behind networks. And I'll explain what stay-behind networks are when we come back. But the very same bureaucratic deep state coup is now saying they're going to defang Trump and then stage riots or remove him from office, and he won't be able to call it the military. Just like defunding the police or disarming the American people. And the ultimate crime is Kyle Rittenhouse going to help one of his friends in a town on fire, and a convicted pedophile and a bunch of other criminals attack him, and with military precision, he defends himself and gracefully only blows the arm off of one of them as he's pulling the trigger, saying, "I'm gonna shoot you, I'm gonna kill you." He flees, he gets in a stance, the guy tackles him, about to kill him, gun to his head, boom, blows the arm off, or pretty much blew it off. So, just like they want you disarmed, whether you're black or white, doesn't matter. Just like they want you with your power cut off and having no resources they can control you. Now they want the U.S. military to not be able to do its job. When the globalists, when Klaus Schwab, when the Davos Group, Minion, George Soros, and Alexander Soros, now in command of their criminal operation, trigger the Islamic and race mobs. And you know they're planning to launch a big Middle East war, and then have the Islamists burn down half of the United States. That's why the left is allied with the Islamicists and the university heads and all of it. People say, oh, you're covering up for Israel. Remove Israel from the equation. I'm not even thinking about Israel. They got weapons and nukes. They're not going anywhere. We've brought in millions of Islamicists, tens of millions in Europe, military-age men, and when war goes down with Iran, they're going to start blowing stuff up and burning cities down. And they've said they will, and Iran has said they will. And now, U.S.-owned cargo ship near Yemen hit by missiles as fears grow, conflict could spread. In episode 3 of Star Wars, and I knew when I saw the movie, if years ever came out, George Lucas, who wrote it, said, no, I'm comparing this to 9/11, and basically saying that the stage is a pretext to go to the Middle East. Emperor Palpatine, who's only the senator, stages attacks on his own planet to be a hero. Then he becomes the head senator, the chancellor. Then he stages attacks on their home planet, declare martial law, and then he kills the rebel forces he controlled. That's what this is in the real world. This is, and Lucas said that movie is a parallel of what he saw under Bush. They're about to do it a lot bigger, but this time to take over the U.S. If you study politics throughout history, you see false flags and staged events over and over again to clamp down on domestic policy and populations. But I love the crew because they're really tuned into what I'm saying, and they can search it and everything I talk about. We'll get to that in a moment, but there's the headline. Emergency broadcast, Democrat senators announce plan to stage a coup against Trump if reelected, plus Ukraine calls for peace with Russia. And what the media, the corporate media is doing is just normalizing, like, oh, there's just a governmental group, the intelligence agencies and the White House and the Senate getting together a plan to make sure if Trump wins, he doesn't use the military when they trigger their communist Soros forces to burn the country down. To drive him from office, of course, because he's Hitler. But I mentioned episode 3, how Senator Palpatine becomes the chancellor, then attacks his own government building with rebel forces he controls to become dictator. The crew found it. I remember this article a long time ago. Gosh, this is like 20 years ago, 19 years ago. Star Wars inadvertently hits too close to U.S. role, Chicago Tribune. And it's Lucas saying, yeah, this is written off the government staging 9/11. Doesn't mean Islamists work involved. Doesn't mean that Islamists started a real issue. The point is, it was definitely a stand down bare minimum. Just thought I'd just show you that because the crew found it. I'm not just making this stuff up. Okay. Moving on from fiction to reality. Here we are. And I have a clip of Richard Nixon that I meant to